Good afternoon. This is an individual executive member decision meeting for the Waking Borough Council response to the updated draft Ruscombe Neighbourhood Plan Consultation. Present is myself, Madeleine Shopton from Democratic Services, my colleague Liam Olive also from Democratic Services, Councillor Lindsay Ferris, executive member for Planning and Local Plan, and Ian Bellinger and Ben Davis from Planning Policy. Ben and Ian, would you like to quickly talk us through the report and the recommendations, and then Councillor Ferris, if you could then indicate whether you are happy to sign off the IMD.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madeleine. So the purpose of this individual executive member decision report is to agree Woking Borough Council's response to the updated draft Ruscombe Neighbourhood Plan, which is currently subject to Regulation 16 consultation, and that consultation closes on Monday, the 26th of June. So I'll take the report as read. However, to provide a brief overview, the recommendations are that we're generally supportive of the plan. It is, however, helpful to worth highlighting two areas where more response is recommended, and to bring attention to the examiner during the examination process. So in terms of policy RU2, which proposes, sets out a housing design code for Ruscombe Parish, so the neighbourhood area. We recognise the value of good design, and the plan is helpfully supported by that design code, which sets out key design guidelines and principles. Notwithstanding, it's considered that the design code, as written, encourages only larger plot sizes and lower densities for new houses. Officers consider that given the affordability of housing within the area and the context of Ruscombe and its local character, smaller homes or dwellings could also be considered achievable and acceptable in an appropriate manner, so depending on local circumstances. The recommendation suggests the plan should be amended to recognise the need to make effective use of land, either by encouraging high densities and supporting a quantum variety of housing types to respond to local needs, as per national and local planning policy. The second element of our response is to policy RU8. So RU8 proposes to designate 10 areas of land as local green space. Local green spaces are an optional designation in national planning policy, and this allows communities to identify and protect unused green spaces. The national planning policy framework sets criteria for whether the designation is suitable. And just to clarify, these are whether it's in reasonably close proximity to the community it serves, whether it's demonstrably special to a local community and holds particular local significance, and whether it is local in character and not an extensive tract of land. So in the plan, we recognise the value of protecting important green spaces, and our recommended response is that we're broadly supportive of those proposals. 7 of those 10 areas align with the Council's latest review of promoting green spaces, so in our current site assessment. The assessment currently set out to justify the other 3 areas is considered to be lighter with respect to demonstrating that they are special to the local community and hold a particular significance. So that second bullet point in the list in the NPPF. So finally, to comment briefly on the next steps, the Council's representations and those made by others will be passed to the independent examiner, who will consider whether the draft Ruscombe Neighbourhood Plan meets the requirements set out in legislation. If considered necessary to meet these requirements, the examiner will recommend some amendments to the plan. Justice is helpful to assist with any questions.
Yes, I've looked at the proposals, and the 2 points you raised, which leads to RU2 and RU8, they aren't sufficiently large enough from my perspective to alter the proposals that Ruscombe are proposing. So, there will be some minor adjustments from that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So our recommended response to our take policy RU2 firstly is to kind of encourage more smaller homes and dwellings, depending on kind of the local context of the area. So as to offer that kind of flexibility in decision making. Because the national policy is kind of recognises the need to make effective use of land by encouraging higher densities and supporting rights of housing terms. So it's to enable land to respond to local needs as per national local policies.
Secondary way, we've agreed to 7 of the 10 sites, and we obviously have some for all the other 3 not being suitable, and that's what agree or disagree.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. There was an issue with Ruscombe on the issue of consultation with landowners. There's reference that they have done. Are we content that they have done sufficient now?
So we've had engagement with our conservation officer. He's confirmed that the assessment, the updated assessment is sufficient, it's justifying their designation. However, we would welcome some further clarity as to how those landowners can be engaged in the process.
In the process,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions. Ian, do you have anything you wish to say?
No, I don't think so, Councillor Ferris. I think Ben's answered your questions quite correctly. If there's anything you'd like me to assist with, if you wish further clarity, I'm very happy to assist again.
That's okay, I'm fine. So on that basis, I'm happy to sign.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the meeting.